Why does saved wheat seed, you know, the wheat you save yourself and have it cleaned and plant it year after year, why does it start declining in yield after so many years? You know, anywhere from 3, 5 to 7 years. Why doesn't that same variety that you buy certified from the seed company, why does it not experience the same yield decline after the same period of time? Well, I've been asking that question for several years now, questioning me repeatedly saving seed year after year. I think I might have finally come up with an answer. So more on that later on this video. All my plans change quickly. I've been working here around the shop getting the fertilizer buggy cleaned up. Been reporting crop acres because the deadline's coming up. Carter and Andy out spraying cotton, trying to get as much cotton sprayed as we can before, well, we got like, supposed to be rains all week. Got like a 60% chance this afternoon, 70% tomorrow, and watching the radar real closely, tell them to shut off because they're spraying plant bugs and mephiquat chloride, and that stuff's got a pretty long rain fast on it. But right now it's sunny, so they're out spraying, and then here for quite a while, we saved our wheat seed, and I've been debating on just how much seed to save and plant next year because, you know, I'm seeing lower yields, and I've done a lot of research, done a lot of asking around, and the general consensus is you save your seed too many years in a row. Some say 3 years, some say 5 years, whatever. You're going to start seeing yield declines. Well, one of our varieties we've been saving a whole lot longer than 5 years just because it's not available anymore, and just it's been a fantastic variety, but you know, for 3 years our yields just haven't been what they should have been. Now a big part of that has just been absolutely crappy weather in the spring and especially May. That's been a big problem of it, but I also think we're seeing some kind of yield declines from saving our seed for too long. But anyway, yesterday I talked with Dr. Tyson Raper. He's a cotton and wheat specialist for University of Tennessee Extension, and asked him what his thoughts on it was, and he says, yeah, you will see yield decline, but I never really understood why we would see yield decline. I mean, we're harvesting our seed and we're saving our seed just like all these other companies do. They pay growers to grow seed, they take the seed in and then they clean it and they sell it. That's no different than what I'm doing. So why would these major seed companies not see yield declines from these varieties like I do? Because we're doing the exact same thing. But anyway, after talking with experts in the industry, some say that they got like proprietary methods of keeping it climate controlled and all of that, and maybe that has a little something to do with it, but I don't buy that that's a big part of it. But Dr. Raper told me yesterday that maybe not all seed companies do this, but the bigger ones, the better ones that see that see their varieties maintain yields over an extended period of time, they don't always just grow seed, save the seed, clean it, and sell it back. They go back to the two different parents that made that variety and rebreed it again to keep the genetic purity on it, and that makes a whole lot of sense to me. You know, we're planting our seed, and it's pollinating, self-pollinating and everything, and then you see over the course of the years, all that pollinating and breeding, you can see some traits come up on certain plants, maybe got some recessive genes or whatever, and anyway, you lose the uniform genetic purity that you first have when you first breed the two parent varieties. So that made a lot of sense to me. However, I don't know if really these companies are doing it a lot on wheat, like say they are cotton and soybeans, maintaining the genetic purity just because there's not the money available in wheat seed like there is soybeans and cotton. But anyway, that's a real long way of saying I'm not going to save as much seed and have it cleaned as what we put in the bins there. We put enough seed there in the bins to plant about 200 acres. I plan on having about 400 acres of wheat next year. So but we're not going to get all that 200 acres worth of seed cleaned. Now here in bin number 1, our smaller bin, we've got about 50 acres of 26R59. We are going to get all of that cleaned, but in our third bin behind there, we've got about 150 acres worth of 25R40 that we were planning on getting it cleaned. Well, instead of getting 150 acres worth cleaned, we're only going to load up about 100 acres worth. So we're going to wind up saving about 150 acres worth of seed, you know, just to try to minimize our cost on planting next year, because if I were to buy certified wheat, our cost for seed is going to be about twice of what it would cost me to save our seed and have it cleaned. So we still want to save some, try and mitigate the cost, and then we're going to do a lot of studying next year, you know, certified seed versus you know, saved seed, and hopefully we got a good wheat year, and hopefully we'll be able to tell some difference. So anyway, this morning I decided to quit dragging my feet. I need to make an appointment at the seed cleaner in Greenfield to get my seed cleaned. Normally I've got my appointment set to get my wheat cleaned long before now, but because I've been dragging my feet, not knowing, you know, debating on how much seed to get cleaned, just hadn't done it. So anyway, called this morning and told them I need to make an appointment, and they were like, oh, we can get you in this afternoon. Well, I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting a date in August sometime. So, but anyway, we got an opening to get our wheat cleaned. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it loaded up, get it hauled, get it clean. One less thing to do. What the heck? Is my battery dead? Oh no, she is smooth dead. Right now it's 10:30. They want me up there by 1:30. Now I got dead battery to deal with. Well, we're really gonna put our NOCO Boost box to the test. Got 3 completely dead batteries. A 12-liter Caterpillar engine turnover. Yeah, we want to let her charge up just a little bit. Let's try her again. Yeah, I just don't think she's gonna have it in her to completely boost 3 completely dead batteries. So guess we go get the jumper cables. All right, got the battery charger and the boost box. Yeah, we're gonna need to let the battery charger work a little while. But we got our tarp open, so we can go ahead and start running a weed and loadout bin there. There's no way I can keep up sweeping behind that auger, so we only got a 30-foot diameter bin here, so I'm just gonna let her go around, do its thing, then we'll get in there with a scoop, broom, and leaf blower. All right, I was thinking something didn't look right. There's supposed to be 150 bushels in here, and it looked like there's a lot more, so I checked the records. I thought I told Andy to put this variety in bin 3 and the one in bin 3 in bin 1. So this is the 25R40 that we're going to cut back from 150 acres to 100 acres worth. So that's the one that's actually in here. So what we're going to do, we're going to stop the auger there. I would have liked to stop it a little bit earlier, but I didn't realize the varieties were backwards. But when you count for the, you know, layer of wheat that's still on the floor and everything, I'm going to guesstimate that we unloaded somewhere close to 2/3 of what was in here, which should be about what I want. So we'll go ahead and dump this in the truck, and then we'll run the wheat out of bin 3. It ain't just, but just like a handful in there, and then put it in the truck, haul it off. All right, let's see if my truck will start now, so I can back the trailer up and put that in the front hopper.
Come on, girl.
Not yet. All right, by gosh, it finally did it. It took jumper cables, it took a battery charger, and it took the jump box. That's the first time I've ever found a situation where the jump box wouldn't come through, but I think we was asking just a little bit much out of it. All right, first variety going in. All right, that's all for 25R40. I guess I'm kind of glad now that Andy put that big variety in bin 1. Maybe we're not going to sweep out a bin today. We can wait till we start hauling our wheat off, and then I'll let Andy and Carter get in on the fun. Our bin manager has been regularly running the fan on bin 2 here. We're still trying to bring that moisture down to hopefully get that test weight up some so we don't get docked as much. We're still going to lose a little bit of yield and weight, but I think we're going to more than make it up with getting docked less on test weight. So far it's got the first 2 sensor layers dried down below 13%. My target's 12%. I don't think we're going to make it, but we still got 2 to 3 more sensors worth up in the bin that that frontal boundaries that still hasn't made it up there to that, getting it dried down. And I just don't know if we're going to be able to get it all dried down before we need to start hauling it. And the top layers was the last harvested wheat. It's going to be the one with the lowest test weight. That's the one that I really wanted to get dried down. All right, here in bin 3, this is where my 26R59 is. There's supposed to be 150 bushels of it. I reckon that's about 150 bushels. So I'll probably have to let this thing run around a couple times, and we'll get in here and sweep and blow the rest. There's going to be just a little bit of corn mixed in with this week. That seed cleaner will get it. Alright, that bin's clean. Alright, it should be 150 bushels of that. And then about 300 bushels of that 26 or 25R40. Alright, Kelly just noticed that ugly looking cloud over there blowing up. I'm checking radar. That little cell right there could be headed right for us.
Hello.
Hey, I'm checking radar. It looks like there's a cell that blew up just southwest of us. Might be heading our way. Better shut the sprayer down and head on in. We'll till we see what it does.
Okay, you want me to bring the sprayer back, or?
No, is Carter still over there with you?
No, he just left. That's all. I was trying to figure out why he left.
All right. Well, he came back to fill the water truck up with water. So.
Okay.
I'll tell him to come back over there and pick you up. Just don't bother spraying. Don't bother finishing up that farm. Just go ahead and shut the sprayer down now.
Okay.
Yeah, that insecticide needs like a minimum 4-hour rain fast period, and even then you're going to see some reduced efficacy. Preferably you need like at least a day or so, but we're not going to get that with the forecast we got this week, and we got plant bugs. Working on those first squares we got to get knocked out. So anyway, we're going to get this hauled to Greenfield. I'm not going to show that. I've shown it in years past. If you're curious about how a seed cleaner works though, I've got a good video on how the seed cleaner, where we're carrying this to, how it works. Be sure to look for it under the playlist, how farm stuff works. All right, Carter and Andy just about done spraying cotton again for plant bugs and growth regulator. And I believe we got about 3 other crops that's going to need spraying here real quick, so we're going to go ahead and do a little scout and determine what order we need to get sprayed in. All right, we're going to start out here with some corn, and we stopped up here at our first planted field, also our earliest maturing variety. This is DeKalb 111. I think it's -37, 30-35 is a popular number, but remember we planted a lot of conventional and Roundup Ready corn, and this is the conventional version of 111-35. So if anything's ready to spray, it's going to be this right here. We'll walk out in here a good ways. Don't much care to look at the inrows. All right, we're a couple 100 yards away from there, so this is a good spot as any to check. And what we're looking for, deciding whether we're going to spray this corn, or not whether, but when we're going to spray it, is first we're going to look for presence of disease on the plants. Then we're going to look at crop stage. Then we're going to look at pests. Anyway, looking down through there, I mean, we got some good looking corn. However, there are some issues starting to pop up. All that deluge of rain we got in May and June, it's going to impact our yields. You know, you think corn likes a lot of water, and it does, but it doesn't like so much water that it leaches some fertilizer away, and that's what we're seeing here. Looking down here at the very lowest leaves right here, we're seeing some nitrogen deficiency, and what that is, the corn stalk is starting to cannibalize itself of nitrogen in the plant and translocating it up here to the ear. Now, this isn't severe, and I mean, we will see some degree of this every single year. However, to see it this early is a little troubling. Now, if you remember, we lowered our nitrogen rate by about 10 units an acre this year, just trying to get more from our soil health and everything, but you know, we weren't counting on, what'd we get? We got something, after side dress, we got something like, I don't know, 20 inches of rain or whatever. We weren't counting on that, and we did lose some nitrogen down through the soil profile. Now, it doesn't mean that there's no fertilizer in the soil. You see all this cover crop residue, I mean, it's slowly breaking down. It's making nitrogen available to the plant. We've got microbe activity, you know, the micronoc that we put on our corn seed, you know, there's microbes in there that will produce some supplemental nitrogen and make it available to the plant. However, all of that is slow processes, and it's not going to do it in enough quantities to really keep this corn happy, but it will help out and should hopefully, you know, slow down the cannibalization that we see from the corn plant. So I've been saying all summer, I think we're gonna have a really, really good corn crop, and I still think we're gonna have a very good corn crop. Is it gonna be a record-breaking corn crop? I don't know if we got the fertility for the top end yields. I don't think we do, but I mean, compared to the last few years, and unless the spigot completely shuts off, we don't get any rainfall, I think we're gonna have a pretty dang good corn crop. So now I want to start looking for diseases. A couple of videos ago in my NutriCharge video, you know, I told you we were concerned about southern rust and gray leaf spot and that kind of stuff. And well, in the week and a half since I filmed that video, southern rust, I think it's moved like one county closer, but it's not like it's really marching up towards West Tennessee. So while I'm sure we will get some later season, it's not anything that I'm terribly concerned about at this point. I'm a lot more concerned about with, say, gray leaf spot right now and other diseases. And looking here at the leaves, I mean, the leaves are looking pretty disease free. We got a little bit right there starting to pop up. Not sure exactly what that disease is. I don't think it's this Holcus leaf spot that I showed you in the last video. That may be the beginnings of gray leaf spot. I'm not an expert on diseases. I can really identify southern rust, I can identify common rust, but in general, I really just don't see enough gray leaf spot to be an expert on seeing the early signs of it. But overall, I mean, our corn's looking pretty clean, disease free. I mean, we're seeing a few more spots on here than we were a week and a half ago, but overall, I mean, it's looking pretty dang good. So there's another one. I think that may be gray leaf spot right there. Not 100% sure. Don't hold me to that. So even though our corn is relatively disease-free and looking good, you know, fungicide is always best when it's applied preventatively. Fungicides do a lot better at keeping a disease from getting established than actually curing the plant once a disease has already become available. So we're really having to guess for the rest of the year. What's the rest of the growing season going to look like? You know, fungicides are not cheap, and the price of corn is even lower now than it was at planting. We're looking about $4 a bushel. A fungicide application of Trivaplo is going to cost around $16.50 an acre, plus plus some foliar fertilizer, plus an insecticide, you know, adding another probably $3 there. So will we get a return on our investment? That's the thing we just don't know. We don't know how soon southern rust is going to move up here. We don't know what kind of rainfall we're going to get the rest of the year. I know the last 2 days we've gotten showers both days. That's a perfect environment for disease to set up shop. So we're just trying to make an educated guess. And right now the educated guess is we've got a really good looking corn crop. We got hot, humid conditions. We've had, we've had plenty of rainfall up to this date. I think it makes financial sense to spray a fungicide. So when do we spray a fungicide? 2 videos ago, I said I like to wait till brown silk. Well, we're right there at brown silk for our, earliest maturing corn. So the timing for this, I think, is going to be just about perfect. Pretty much all of our pollen shed, don't have to worry about choking up the radiator or anything. And research from the University of Tennessee says that, once you get past, R1 to R2 stage on corn, you're really not going to see a return on investment in your fungicide. It's just a little too late. So we apply a fungicide now. This should protect the corn plants pretty dang close to black layer. It gives about 21 days of protection. So I think it's the optimal time to spray this corn. Now, because we're in conventional corn, doesn't have any BT trait, we also need to be concerned about insects, something that we're normally not having to be concerned about because normally we've planted traded corn. And here's one of the ears I pulled. I believe I counted 18 rows around, so that's going to be a pretty decent sized ear. But look up here at the tip end. We got a very, very tiny corn earworm there. Now, normally we wouldn't be worried about these because they would be killed by the BT protein in the corn plant, but since this is conventional corn, it doesn't have that. So because I'm seeing that out there, and that tiny worm will quickly grow into a much bigger worm and start eating, doing a lot more damage. We're also going to include an insecticide, a pyrethroid in here, at least on our Roundup Ready and our conventional corn, to try and get as many of these corn earworms, kill them as they can before they do economic damage. 2.5 ounces of lambdicide is going to cost me a little over $1 an acre. We will definitely get a return on our investment on that. And these worms are still tiny enough, should be able to kill any moths out here laying eggs, should be able to kill them. So I definitely think this needs to be the next thing on the list. Spraying this corn with a fungicide, foliar fertilizer, and also an insecticide. All right, over here on Pete's farm, we're in some of our progeny corn. This is a 114-day corn, so a little bit longer maturity. Anyway, it's looking pretty dang good. Not seeing very little signs of nitrogen cannibalism. We're in a little bit better spot of the field on this farm than we were the last farm. Looking at the leaves here, I'm seeing a few more spots. However, you see like these little spots here. I know what that's from, and that's my own fault. One of our wheat bean fields is several hundred yards that way, and that's little tiny misty droplets of paraquat that made it over here and settled on the corn leaves. So that's not going to be diseased, but we're seeing some holcus leaf spot on here too, but really not seeing any signs of gray leaf spots starting. I'm really not sure what the disease rating of this corn variety is. Need to check it out, but overall this is looking really good. See, we're here at brown silk and everything, so let's see if we got any problems with corn earworms over here. All right, pulling this here. This sure reminds me of a pioneer here. Long and skinny. This is 16 rows round, but it's 42 long. That's usually what we always got on our pioneers, although if I'm not mistaken, I want to say progeny sourced their genetics from pioneers, so it kind of makes sense. But anyway, look at the tip. We're pollinated all the way to the tip end, but no sign of an earworm. And I didn't just check this ear here. We also pulled several more back, and I did not see one earworm. However, that doesn't mean that we're not going to spray for them, though. If they're in the other field, which is about 3/4 of a mile that way, the moths probably laid eggs over here. I'm just probably in an area of the field where they didn't lay. Again, this variety does not have that BT technology. That insecticide is a little over $1 an acre. We're going to go ahead and put it out. So anyway, I'm really happy with the way this progeny looks. Happy with the way that decal looks. We got really good pollination. Got the potential for some decent sized ears. As long as we can get a few more rains. And he's going to be making a bunch of trips to the grain bin with a loaded truck this fall. mid-July. I'm always hunting for a shady spot if I can find one. All right, here we are on our last planted corn and also our longest season corn. This is a DeKalb 69.99, 119-day corn, and it's got full BT trait on it, so definitely not worried about insects, but really not sure if it's quite ready to spray for a fungicide, so let's wander out there and see for ourselves. I'm telling you what, out of all the varieties of corn I've grown in my career, this 69.99 might be one of the most impressive physically, the physical plant. I mean, it is tall. I mean, got some big, wide, beautiful leaves on it. And also, it's one of the varieties that's really well suited for my row spacing. You see those leaves, you know, they kind of droop down. They're not all pointed straight upright like a lot of the other varieties that we have now that's made more for 30-inch rows. This variety right here does a really good job of intercepting sunlight, you know, by letting those leaves come down. I mean, look, now there's not very much sunlight at all hitting the ground there. So that means we're not wasting any opportunity for photosynthesis out here. Anyway, looking at the leaves, seeing quite a bit of a hocus leaf spot, but but that hocus leaf spot is a bacteria. Fungicide won't kill it. Not seeing anything else. I mean, this corn looks nice and clean. Seeing a little bit of cannibalization, but not really all that bad down here. But still, this field's probably not going to make what the potential was that it had. And anyway, to look at the ears, we've got to look up. It's got a real high ear placement, almost, well, about 5.5 feet tall. See, we still got a lot of green in those silks. So, you know, ideally, we would wait a little while on this corn on spraying a fungicide. And because we're really not seeing any disease, that's probably what we're going to do. My plan was see, tomorrow's going to be Friday. I was going to try and spray all Friday and Saturday, get all of our corn sprayed, but now it's looking like I'm probably going to spray Friday and then leave our longer season corn, leave it for Monday. Just give it a few more days. And ideally, I'd probably like to wait a little bit longer than that, but we've got other crops that need to be sprayed, and you know, with the lift kit that we're running and the fenders we've got to run, you know, it takes some time to, you know, swap back and forth. So probably give this till Monday and come in here and spray it. Now we'll leave an insecticide off on this because this has got the full BT trait. No reason to put an insecticide out here for this, but we will put the foliar fertilizer too. Here's one of the ears I picked, 20 rows around, about 38 kernels long. Gonna be a nice size ear, but I'm seeing some issues kind of concerning me. Look closely. There's a little bit of pollination issue, especially here around the butt of the ear. Not a whole heck of a lot of kernels missing. I've definitely seen worse jobs, but that's definitely a lot more than I'd like to see. And we didn't have any kind of moisture stress here. I'm thinking those hot temperatures that we had last week when this stuff was pollinating was probably the factor. You know, temperatures get too hot in the day, you know, 97, 98 degrees, you know, it can sterilize the pollen before it ever has a chance to intercept the silk. And I don't know if that's what happened or whatever, but we haven't seen that out of this variety before. You know, we've grown this variety, I believe 3 years, and it's always done a good job of pollinating, but that's kind of concerning right there. I'm gonna pull a couple more, see if maybe if that was the only one or not. All right, here's 2 more I pulled just randomly, and these don't look as bad as the other one. We are seeing a few blank spots in there, but and more than I'd like to see, more than I'm used to, but it's not as bad as that first one was. However, I mean, we don't want to see any problems with the corn crop, and I mean, heat's about the only thing that I can attribute to that, just, you know, sterilizing pollen. I know it sure was hot last week. I was feeling it every day when I got home. Ain't nothing we can do about that. Hopefully it won't hit the yield monitor too bad this fall. All right, before we leave the cornfield here, let me address one thing. I'm sure some of you higher yielding corn guys probably saying to yourselves, well, you said you're short on nitrogen, why don't you supplement some extra nitrogen to it? For one thing, we're middle of July here in West Tennessee. In order to get nitrogen to the roots, we're going to require some rainfall. And that ain't something we can guarantee this time of year. So one thing I'd really hate to do is, you know, spend extra money on that fertility and then not even be able to get it down to the plants. I don't have a wide drop system for my sprayer. We could run drop hoses from our boom and dribble it down the middle, but we really would need some moisture to get it down into the ground and get it to where the roots could intercept it and pull it into the plants. Another reason is corn's taking a nosedive this week. It's right there around $4 a bushel. What kind of what kind of ROI are you going to see on trying to boost yields by applying extra fertility with $4 corn? I mean, you know, financially it just doesn't make sense to put a risky input on there with no guarantee it's going to actually make it into the plant, and then it's going to make it in the plant in time enough to you know, get you that extra yield. And the third thing is, you know, like I said, corn's $4 a bushel. Why do I want to try and produce more bushels of corn, increase the supply more, and keep corn prices even lower? You know, it's just, I would just be contributing to the low commodity price that we're suffering right now. So, you know, it's going to be what it's going to be. I don't like the risk of going in there with supplemental nitrogen. You know, we can go in there with an airplane, fly on some urea. Airplane going to cost you what? $15 an acre plus the cost of the product. You know, UAN is hard to get. It's even more expensive now than it was in May when it had gone up then. You know, it's too pricey and it's just too pricey and not enough reward. You know, if corn price is a lot higher, you know, say $6, $6.50, I'd definitely consider it then. But $4 corn, with $4 corn, we're going to run what we brung. All right, even though cotton's not one of the crops we're debating on spraying because we just got done spraying it, we was right next door to it and it's progressing quickly. We want to give y'all an update of what the cotton crop looks like. Bam, look at that. Now this right here is our very first planted cotton. Did not have to replant any of this, got a great stand. We had, you know, a pretty thin cover crop stand over here, great to see the soil contact, and it come up to an absolutely picture perfect, beautiful stand. And this is by far the best looking cotton that I've got. However, it's almost a week after the 4th. We still don't have a bloom out here. I think this cotton was planted on May the 14th. And if we'd had normal weather in May and June, we really should have a bloom by now, but we don't. We had miserable weather. May and June didn't acquire a lot of DD60s. Cotton just sat there for a long time and it's finally taken off. But it's definitely behind. This cotton's probably behind by between a half a week to a week. Anyway, looking down here, this is our first position square on our lowest fruiting branch, and it's still a few more days away from blooming. I mean, it still needs a while. My cotton scout said he thought we ought to see a bloom by the end of this week, but maybe he was looking at different areas of the field than this, but I'm not seeing anything that makes me think we're gonna have a bloom by tomorrow or Saturday. It definitely needs a few more days, but I mean, it's loading up nicely. See, on this plant, I'm not seeing any aborted positions. We got 3 squares on that branch. Next branch up, we got 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then a tiny one, third one. So we got 100% fruiting retention so far on this plant. And these are gonna be our money bowls, so that's what's important. We've actually sprayed this cotton twice with an insecticide for plant bugs, and it looks like it's done its job. We've also hit it twice with a growth regulator. One thing we're experimenting with this year is, rather than waiting for our cotton to get up to decent height and then trying to slam it shut with a growth regulator, we're starting early to make a more compact plant, hopefully promote a little bit earlier fruiting and earlier maturity. And so far, I'm really liking what I see. You can see these nodes right here are not spread as far apart as what they normally be. And I think this node right here is where that first shot of plant growth regulator started kicking in. You see how it's shortened the distance between this one and this one. And it's doing its job. And I'm really liking that. Anyway, don't want to make this too long of a video, so we'll keep the cotton part brief and go look at our full season beans, because they're not going to be far away from spraying either. All right, next big concern, my full season beans. Let's check them out. Tell you what, these things have kicked in a high gear since I last showed you my full season beans. All right, just like with our corn, what we're concerned about right now in our full season beans is disease and insects. Now these soybeans are getting close to the optimal time to spray a fungicide, which would be the R3 stage. Just how close are they? Well, let's take a closer look. All right, the R3 stage is when we find a 1/4 inch pod within the top 3 nodes of the plant. All right, I don't know if you can see right there, but that right there is about a 1/4 inch pod, and it's not in the top 3 nodes of the plant. And also, this plant is not quite done growing yet. You see these really skinny leaves? These are going to be the final nodes of the plant, and you see they're just getting started developing and blooming. So unless I see a lot of disease present right now, we really need to wait off on spraying a fungicide on these because they're not done putting on vegetative growth. We want to protect all the vegetative growth that we can, and these beans, that R3 stage is a moving stage because these things started blooming over a month ago, and there's always going to be like a 1/4 inch pod in the top of the plant, but the plant's still growing vertically. You want to be able to protect the whole plant. So you can see how these the most mature upper leaves, you can see how they're getting a little bit more pointed and rounded. Well, these newest ones that hadn't developed yet, I mean, they'll be really skinny, and that's how we know the soybean plant is just about done growing and going to be starting to put all of its energy into reproduction. But if we find a lot of disease, that doesn't mean that we don't need to go ahead and hit it and hit it with a fungicide. So anyway, let's look a little closer at these leaves. All right, we're seeing a little bit of disease. Well, shoot, done lost it. I'll find another one. Here's another one. Now we're seeing a little bit of disease start to pop up. You see that lesion on the leaf right there by my thumb? That's frog eye leaf spot. And that's by far the most concerning disease for us in soybeans. However, just seeing one little spot like that, it's not enough to be scared of. When we start seeing it over multiple leaves, multiple spots on leaves, that's when we really need to start being concerned. And I thought another leaf caught my eye earlier. All right, I had to head to a shady spot. I'm gonna tell you, if you've never experienced a Tennessee summer, don't start now. Anyway, I looked for quite a while for that leaf that I thought caught my eye. I thought I saw a leaf that had multiple lesions of frog eye leaf spot on it, but I never found it again. So based on what I saw out there, we do have disease present. However, it's in such low quantity right now, it's not really a concern. So our best bet's going to be give it another week or so, let the plant accumulate all that vegetative mass that it's going to where we can go in there with our fungicide and completely completely protect the whole plant there. That frog eye is not going to progress quickly enough to really infest the soybean crop in that week and a half. And ultimately, I think that's about when the best timing for our fungicide is going to be. Also, not to mention, there's really not any insects out there right now that we need to be concerned about. So wait another week and a half, let us get another scouting report in and see if, maybe some kind of insects, some stink bugs or whatever, some loopers come in and we have to spray for them. That way we're not having to make 2 passes across the field. But we're definitely going to hit it with a fungicide because the disease is there and it will progress. However, we've got a week and a half's worth of safety net there before we really need to get in there and apply that fungicide. So, all right, now we looked at our full season beans. Let's go look at our double crops. All right, third thing we want to spray is our double crop beans. You can tell we got some stuff coming up. We got some grasses. We got some volunteer wheat. See just a little bit of broadleaves coming up, but yep, we definitely need to get in here with our post-emerge application. And normally it wouldn't even be a consideration. This would probably be the first thing I'd be doing, but cause our soybeans have been planted long enough. But if you remember, we had to come in and we had to replant a good bit of our wheat beans, and the replanted stuff's definitely not as far along as what the original planting is. Just looking here at replants, we did exactly what we was trying to do. You can see right here, we got the original row, and we got a pretty decent stand right here in this stretch. You can see it, up there we don't though, but we tried to come in here and split our middles with our replanted beans, come in right beside it. That way we didn't damage the original ones, and basically just trying to fill in the gaps. And you can see we did what we were supposed to. If you look across through here, we do have a stand, but it is kind of a thinnish stand. Of course, this is a low-lying field right here. We got a heavy pounding rain 2 days after we planted, and we got a better stand than what we started out with, that's for dang sure, but it's still not it's still not what I wanted. But these are going to be relatively small spots of the field. But in order to spray a herbicide for this, our replanted beans need to have the first trifoliate fully emerged. Otherwise the reflex in the prefix that we're using, it'll scald the beans too bad and take them longer to recover. So we want these newly replanted soybeans to have enough growth to be able to withstand the burning effect of that reflex that we're going to put out here. Anyway, looking at them, for the most part, like this plant right here, it's putting out its first trifoliate right there. This one is fully emerged. This one's fully emerged. This one's fully emerged. So ideally, we need to give this a few more days before we come in here with a herbicide. And I think the way it's going to fall in line, we start spraying corn tomorrow, finish up our corn on Monday. Then we can switch over, put down our herbicide on our full season, on our double crop beans. That'll be about the perfect timing on it. And then about that time we get done with that, maybe our full season beans will be ready to hit with a fungicide, and that's assuming we're probably going to have a rain out or so in there too. So I think we got a pretty good plan going forward for the next week and a half on getting our crops maintained and taken care of, and then hopefully in that time we can get our hooded sprayer hooked up, get it ready to make our final post-emergent herbicide application through a cot, and then maybe get started on it. That's not going to be one job where we're just going to start and keep spraying until we're done, because we got all that replanted cotton. Cotton's at different stages and everything, and it's got to have plenty of bark up the stalk to be able to protect it from the herbicide going up under the plant. And the places where we had to replant, it's still. Tell you what, it's so dang hot out here, even my GoPro can't stand it. It's overheating, dying. So anyway, I'll try to finish this up quick. But anyway, that's going to conclude the crop tour. I think we got a pretty good plan. So anyway, guys, that's going to wrap up this video. Andy should be back at the shop getting the fenders on the corn, getting it ready to spray corn. I'm going to run back, help him finish that, get chemicals on the truck. Then I think probably going to, about that time we're going to start hauling wheat. So probably need to go ahead and get a truck loaded for this evening and start running first thing in the morning. So anyway, guys, appreciate y'all watching. See you in the next one.